morning, Roxy Soxy.
Good afternoon, Tam Tam. I'll have you know that I have made this recording by the skin of my teeth today.
Oh, you did. You did.
Yes, you know I did. You know, I was like, okay, I am going to make it happen because I've been solo parenting this whole week, thanks to my husband going out of town the first week of school when everything about our schedule changes. Who does that?
And I'm actually surprised you made it on time because normally you have to, because you tell me you have to pee every 2 seconds. So I'm surprised you didn't like have to pee and then be late and then have to pee before, wet the pants a little bit. But you know what? It's I'm wetting my pants over this next guest, but I'm not going to introduce just yet because I'm going to get the anticipation high.
It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. There's like controversy. There's a lot of good stuff to talk about with them. So
I know. First, I have to ask a question. Because the Met Gala just happened. Mm-hmm. And I thought that some of the costumes were incredible. And then there were some that I was like, is Kim Kardashian pulling a Banksy type? Like, you know what I wished she had done? I wish she had showed up and then literally got a picture of her like eating ice cream at home being like, yeah, it wasn't even me. I think would be the best thing.
That would have been the best. Okay, who did you think was dressed the best? Because I have like my picks, and I'm thinking for me, I thought Amon fucking stole the show because she was like the queen. I mean, she just came in there and fucking owned it.
My night last night was putting a suppository up my kid's butt, so I didn't have that much time to be thinking of the Met Gala. And actually, I was actually quite surprised at how fast those things go up there. I was like, "Oh, this is genius." But I do think that I loved that red dress on Carly.
Yes,
the Carly.
The Carolina Herrera. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
I mean, suppositories and Met Gala. I know. I mean, does that not go hand in hand?
Yeah. Which place would I rather be? Probably putting a suppository up my kid's butt is probably
yes. Knowing you, Tammin, knowing you, yes. You're like,
the whole time I was just like, these things are designed really great. You know, it really did go up really fast. Anyway. Anyway, and on that note, we are going to who do we have on today, Rox?
Oh my God. Well, this person has been in the public eye for quite some time now.
A long time.
A long time. He really kind of helped start the whole celebrity gossip, like blogging movement, like right when it started, like around 2005, like that era. Self-proclaimed queen of all media at one point, doing all the things, and he definitely does not mince words. So it's always fun to have a guest on like that will just speak.
I'm nervous.
Mind. I know.
I was a little nervous before the interview. I was like, oh God, like, what if he says something like, what if he doesn't like me? You know, what if like, I would think that I'm so famous that he'd write about me. He would definitely not write about me. Like, who gives a fuck? But I'm like in my head going, oh my gosh, like what if he says something salacious? But anyway, we have Perez Hilton on.
Yay, Perez.
Hello. Thank you for having me on. And yes, I've been doing what I do a very long time, but I think I have grown and changed, matured, evolved. I mean, on my podcast this week, I got into a heated discussion with my co-host because we were talking about Charlie Sheen and how he is now looking after his 17-year-old daughter who dropped out of high school and did not like living with the mom, Denise Richards. And my podcast co-host called Charlie Sheen a hot mess. And I said, we don't say hot mess anymore. And he's like, who's we? Why not? I'm like, well, okay, fine. I don't say hot mess anymore. And he's like, well, whatever. I'm calling Charlie Sheen a hot mess. And I think I just, not everybody gets to a place where they have more empathy. Not everybody gets to a place where they realize you shouldn't say everything that you're thinking.
Right.
I mean, Donald
That's what my
Trump,
husband says to me. Do not say everything that you think.
Donald Trump never changed, and he got elected all the way into the White House.
So why do you think the change? I on a smaller scale, when I had kids, in my own relationship with my husband, I'm like, I need to change and deal with my own trauma and deal with my own shit and my own things that have shaped me as an individual. So when did the change happen and why did it happen?
The change happened a while ago. And what's what's become apparent to me in 2021 is no matter how much I have changed and continue to change, in the eyes of many to most, I am irredeemable. And I've accepted that, which is why I've let go of any hope of anything, really. For example, cancel culture is this big hot topic. Everybody talks about cancel culture. I've been canceled so many times,
and you still come back.
Yeah,
but I've always hoped, maybe there is that TV show out there for me that can turn everything around. But I know it's most likely not going to happen because of my past. Because if a network ever announced a show with Perez Hilton, as soon as that were to be announced, all of these receipts from my past would start surfacing and everybody would try to get that show canceled before it even aired. Even though, as you mentioned, or you asked about the change, I've made this change now for 11 years.
Right.
What prompted it for me was truly the realization that the talking points, can we curse on your podcast?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
The bullshit I kept telling myself was just that. It was bullshit. I kept telling myself things like, well, I'm just saying what everybody's thinking. Or if somebody doesn't like what I'm saying, they shouldn't read my website or they shouldn't pay attention to me. Or, my friends and I say this in private. Well, why shouldn't I say it in public? Or it's just a character. It's not the real me. If people don't like Perez, it doesn't bother me. But then I woke up one day and I'm like, well, it was more than just waking up. It was an actual situation that happened that made me realize, no, I have to take accountability. It is me doing these things. And I'll try to be as brief as possible. What ended up in the fall of 2010, there was a rash of young LGBTQ youth taking their own lives that died by suicide. And thankfully, I had never seen anything before that time, nor since then. The sheer volume, it was in like a span of 2 months, over 20 youths in America that identified as LGBTQ died by suicide. So this journalist named Dan Savage created this very simple concept, a campaign called It Gets Better, which was older folks making videos talking directly to young people with the concept of it gets better and trying to inspire them. So because my job is to know what's going on and be plugged in, I found out about that campaign the day it launched. I think I must have gotten a press release. So I made a video right away. I think I was the first public figure personality to make an It Gets Better video. And I thought in this moment of darkness, I'm doing something positive. But the response that I got shook me to my core. I thought I was doing something positive, but almost every single comment was, how dare you make an It Gets Better video? You're part of the problem. You're a hypocrite. You're a bully. And that was my Oprah moment. I love Oprah, and I will sit down and watch and rewatch the very last episode of the Oprah Winfrey Show at least once a year. Not where they said goodbye to her at the United Center and Beyonce performed. It was the show immediately after that, where it was just her standing in front of the studio audience, like giving the master class of master classes, speaking and sharing everything that she'd learned in her life up until that point. And Oprah said, just listen. The universe, God, whatever you want to call it, has the answers for you, your heart, your intuition, whatever you want to call it. And if you don't listen, the universe or God will speak louder. and it'll keep speaking louder. And eventually, that's what she said.
Makes him cry. Oh, it's so true.
Eventually, if you keep ignoring it, it's going to smack you upside the head. Roxy must have watched that episode.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
And that was my Oprah moment. That was the universe smacking me upside the head and saying, wake up and stop. And I did. And it's not like I reinvented the wheel. I just put new rims on it, you know, like and what's also not sad, you know, that a lot of people, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I still share mine, but even just the nature of what I do for a living, even though I do it differently than before, people look down upon that. People judge me. There's an element of snobbery, an element of just like, get your own life. Why are you talking about celebrities? But I still love what I do.
I have one question, because I was bullied a lot as a kid, and it took me a long time to realize that. Those people who were saying snide things were probably dealing with a lot in their own personal lives. Was there anything
that does not excuse it.
Did you no, absolutely not. But was there something that had happened to you as you grew up that was so painful that in a way you were deflecting it onto other people because you had your own sense of shame or vulnerability or pain or whatever that was? Did it come from somewhere?
Yes. And I released my memoir last year. It came out in October. But I almost wish that I would have written it this year, because not just for me, but probably for the majority of the world, 2020 was a very difficult year. But that year was also the continuation of a very difficult 2019 as well. You know, my mother's boyfriend had cancer. He lived with us, was her long-term boyfriend of a decade and a half. He ended up dying of cancer. And then my mom also got cancer and thankfully recovered and is, you know, totally fine now. You know, I did not handle 2019 well. If anybody who follows me remembers, that's the year I got a hair transplant, which I'm happy about. That's also the year I started to dye my beard all sorts of crazy colors. I gained a ton of weight. I started to develop a spending problem. I went on 6 vacations in 6 months because I just did not want to be present in my life. So then that happened. And then 2020 happened. And I'm like judging myself and like, I don't want anybody listening or watching now thinking that I'm looking for sympathy. I'm just being honest and sharing my story. You know, there were at points where I wouldn't say I was suicidal last year, but I was having suicidal thoughts. And I think there's a difference there. I was having suicidal thoughts, but I don't think I was suicidal. And then I had a huge, very public, and I'm learning to be more compassionate with myself. Old me would have said embarrassing.
Right.
I'm not going to say embarrassing public meltdown, but I had, you know, an emotional break at the end of 2020. And that was actually a wonderful thing because it pushed me back into therapy. And I've been in therapy every single week since then. And I've gotten so much more insight into my life. So I'm a talker. I apologize. To answer your question, therapy has helped me see that so much, almost all of the decisions in my life have really stemmed from this place of me feeling a great injustice done to me when I was young. And that injustice was my grandfather dying when I was 14 years old. And then 7 days later, my dad dying unexpectedly of an aneurysm. And I don't just have more compassion with myself. I also have a lot of compassion for my mother because while I think, okay, I would have handled the situation differently, she was just trying to survive. She was just trying to survive because she loved my dad so much. So, I never went to therapy at 14, and I didn't even talk about it. I come from a Cuban family. Right. Latinos are very anti-therapy, and they're not even ones to talk about their feelings. So what I did was I drowned myself into this imaginary world, which was pre-internet, because I did not have a computer. And that imaginary world for me was show business. It was television. I would watch unhealthy amounts of TV every day and almost was not present in my life. So that also, from my father's death to then TV being my escape, all of that really helped shape and form who Perez Hilton ultimately became. And last year, I don't know if you watched, but I made like a cameo on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, Australia.
I know, my mom told me. And she even texted me last night. She's like, ask him about Get Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
I was only on for a week, thankfully. But before I even got into the jungle, it was an intense experience in a good way, meaning they really take mental health seriously. So I had to take a bunch of questionnaires where they try to figure out your personality. And then I had to, before I even got to the jungle, speak to one of their therapists. Then when I got to the jungle, before entering, speak to that therapist again. And he's like, I'm looking at your personality test and, you're really big on injustice. And I'm like, yeah, I think I am. When I was younger, and I guess I haven't changed that much, but I think how I advocate for injustice has changed, but my feeling about injustice hasn't changed. When I was younger, I think maybe like a lot of people, I used to see the world in black or white. I didn't understand that there's a lot of gray, and I didn't understand that we don't know everything. Only the people experiencing something know everything. I used to, one of the bullshit talking points that I had when I was younger, when I was Perez, I would say, well, I'm just shining the light, right? I'm shining the light on celebrities behaving badly. And I'm shining the light on those that get it right as well. But it really wasn't a light. I was kind of wielding a sword. And a sword can be a very dangerous weapon. And it hurt people in the past. And I do deeply regret that.
It's interesting you're talking about regret now too, because you're also a father of 3. And I wonder how if that has changed your perspective at all, especially looking back now and, after being in therapy and sort of like making a bit of a shift in your direction, like, do you now sort of being a dad, like place yourself, like think about your kids, like being in that position and being like, if somebody had been saying those things about somebody, your kids, like how you would feel like does that sort of shift things for you now being a parent, or is it just the same?
No, because I decided to make the change before I had children.
Right.
My firstborn didn't come into this planet until 2013. And that whole incident with the It Gets Better campaign was in the fall of 2010. And actually, I had been thinking of making a change prior to that. And what my takeaway was, for about a year and a half leading up to that, I began this journey of being a healthier person. I used to be extremely overweight. And then I got healthier. And for me, I found that there is a direct correlation between healthier and happier. So not that I was unhappy before, but I was happier being healthier.
It's the brain and gut connection.
I was having happier thoughts, and I was having different thoughts, but I was not paralyzed. Well, yeah, kind of paralyzed. I was paralyzed by fear into making changes on my website because I thought, wow, I've been doing this as Perez for so many years now. If I all of a sudden change things, how will people respond to that? So I just kept the status quo until that breaking point, until that Oprah smack you upside the head moment where that really pushed me to change.
Do your kids know sort of the direction and like the kind of journey your career has been? Like, do they know
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I've had conversations with them about people not liking me, but I haven't really explained too much about the past or given examples. We just focused on the now. I'm like, a lot of people don't like your dad, and that's okay because they don't know me. You guys know me, and I'm a pretty good dad, right? So I believe in always being honest with your kids and having age-appropriate conversations. And we've done that with regards to not just my public perception, but also how they came to be, how I had them, and me looking for love, and they know I'm gay, and there's like so many conversations to be had with children. I love my kids, and I don't ever want them to feel like I kept things hidden from them or I was deceitful in any way.
I do believe that people change. I do believe that apologies are important and necessary and can evoke positive movement in the right direction. I'm afraid of cancel culture because it doesn't give any room for growth. And it doesn't give any room for open conversations and looking at other people's opinions through their own personal lens of where they've been, like where they've come from and why they do the things that they do. And that's why it was important to get you on this show, because there were a few people who were like, well, I'm such an anti-bullying advocate. And they're like, well, why get him on the show? And I said, because I believe in the human experience of growth. I really do.
Well, you have a very big heart.
And it scares me though. I forgive the people that bullied me because I know that they came from a really shitty background. And I believe that they were, unhappiness is the fastest pipeline to hate. I believe that they weren't happy. And so I was just in the way. Right. And so for me, it's like, I think cancel culture just stops all those conversations from happening and also stops any growth. So what do you feel when it comes to cancel culture? And do you think there is a way that you can come back with a vengeance in probably the most authentic way that was you probably from the beginning?
Okay, those are several great questions.
Several, I know. I
asked I'll start with the latter. No, this is something that I've talked about with therapy. I truly believe that people are more willing to forgive because they can understand it more. They're more willing to forgive a drug addict who stole from family and friends to have money to buy drugs, and they're willing to forgive me. I don't even know if I would forgive. Well, I would, because I'm me, and now I understand what it's like to have people feel this way to me. So I would forgive me, but I understand people thinking he's irredeemable. So it would be nice, but I don't think that's going to happen, that people will be able to let me evolve and grow because they want to keep me in this prison cell that is the past. I don't live there anymore. And
have you apologized to those people, or have you wanted to?
Both publicly and privately, numerous times. And I'm not a Kevin Hart. If people are reminded about something, even if I've already apologized, if people didn't pay attention to my initial apology, or if what I said brings up new pain and hurt and suffering for other people, not even the person that I said that about, I'll apologize again. I think I will continue to have to apologize until I'm dead. But I tell my therapist, even if I believe I gave away every single dollar I have earned, that would still not be enough for people. They'd be like, okay, that's nice. And that doesn't erase his past. That's nice. And he's still a douchebag. Or what an idiot. He gave away all his money. Like, I really think there's not that I'm trying to win, but there's just, I'm in a lose situation.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the latter. The former of your question, and I won't take credit for this because I believe in giving credit where credit is due. Last year, Nick Cannon, the TV personality, was in an unfortunate incident where he said some hurtful words that the Jewish community found very unpleasant. And the first course of action for so many, including his then employer, MTV, was cancellation.
Mm-hmm.
He literally got fired as host and executive producer of his TV show, Wild and Out. In the wake of that, he apologized, he met with people, and he gave an interview where he said something that really resonated with me, that aligns with something that you said, but I don't think we as a world or society are there yet. And that is counsel culture, not cancel culture. And what's also, I'm old, as we said at the very beginning of this, and one of the big differences about life and my job now and social media and how people consume things is that many people now consume political news the way that they used to entertainment news. And for many, canceling somebody is a form of entertainment.
Yeah.
Like that's their go-to. That's their first. And I walk the walk, I talk the talk. I'm pretty consistent on this topic. I think it was earlier this year also, there was this journalist who was hired as the new editor-in-chief of Teen Vogue magazine, and some old tweets of hers resurfaced. And everybody's first course of action, cancel her, fire her. She ended up resigning, but I don't think that's what should have happened, especially because that happened such a long time ago.
Right.
Like, are we gonna keep making people pay for things they did?
When is it enough? When is it enough? Because everybody has said something that has offended somebody at some point in their lives. And it's like, we're lucky that we weren't on social media maybe at that time, or it wasn't in print at that time, or whatever the reason is. But at some point, everybody's going to get canceled at this, And
there's so much hypocrisy as well, because, let's take Britney Spears, for example. There's been a big public shift in consciousness towards her and the treatment of her in the past from the media and people like myself, which I regret immensely and carry deep shame over. And while people now say, "Ooh, she got the short end of the stick and it was so bad and we need to treat Britney better," so many of those same people then last year were talking shit about Kanye West. Kanye West in 2020 had many very public incidents, episodes, and the majority of people, non-famous and famous people, were not talking about Kanye and leading with empathy or compassion and understanding. They were cruel, mean, nasty, judgmental, hurtful about this man who was clearly struggling and going through a lot publicly.
But people don't take mental health seriously in this country anyway.
Well, when it looks a different way, I think they take it seriously if it looks like you're sitting there and crying and what they can understand mental health should look like. But if it comes across as bullying or aggression or, what if it doesn't look in their perfect box of what they think mental health looks like, then they're not willing to get on board. It has to be in this neat little package of what mental health should look like for people to understand it.
Well, I think two people in the public eye, people are looking at them and expecting them to have no problems, right? It's like, oh, you've got, $50 million or whatever, name your number, and you've got records and you've got books and you're on TV. Like, you shouldn't have any problems, right? Because you're like already set. So there's also not like a lot of forgiveness for mental health too.
Or like even the topic of substance abuse. so many people lack understanding or empathy with that. Oh, just stop taking drugs, like, or just stop drinking, or why don't you go to rehab, or they say things like that. And it's not as simple as that. Like, do you think somebody wants to die of an overdose? Do you think somebody wants to be addicted to this or that? No.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to talk about bankruptcy because we have a lot of people who ask, we have financial experts on this show, and people ask about money all the time. Like, no, we're not experts, so we get the experts in. You were making a lot of money at one point. And then, because I see, you know, celebrities who are making $200-300 million and then they file for bankruptcy. I don't understand how that happens, because for me, I'm like, just give me a little more money and I'll like put it away. But so what happened around that time, and when you filed for bankruptcy, and how's it different now?
So I filed for bankruptcy before Perez, or like almost at the very beginning of my career. I wasn't really making any money as Perez Hilton yet. It was me dealing with my stupidity from my college days, which I'll share very quickly. The number one thing that you should never do if you do not have enough money is get a cash advance on your credit cards. That is what I did, because the interest rate is just ridiculous. But I didn't have the money, and I wanted to get an apartment because I didn't want to live in a dorm my senior year of college. I'm like, I want to stay in an apartment, but I need more money. Anyways, then eventually over the next few years, I started getting new credit cards. So I would do balance transfers to get a low interest on this new card. And then I ended up having like 12 credit cards, and they were all maxed out. And it was like, I think over $100,000 in debt, and I had no money. And it's unfortunate, and I take full accountability, but I wish in school and or your parents that they helped with financial literacy. I know that my mom never helped me with financial literacy. In fact, I repeated the same cycle. My mother also filed for bankruptcy years before I did. And when I have my children are older, when I have the opportunity to, even now, actually, I have conversations like, you know, your dad works so hard to earn money, and you know, your dad likes to save money. Saving is really important.
Yeah.
Other things like that.
Spend some, save some.
Yeah. Have you guys had the talk? So you've not started the talk yet with your kids. Tammin, have you started like
about money?
About money, about
yeah. So my daughter has a little
and
modeling job. And so when my daughter's in my social media campaigns, or any of them are in, we put some money into their accounts for that, because, you know, so they were working. And then when they have their own jobs, then we put the full amount into their accounts. And then we say to Phoenix, my older, who's 8, that she can spend, if she makes like $300, she can spend $150, and then the $150 we save. So we're trying to teach her.
Wow, she gets to spend $150.
Well, I feel like I spend it anyway out of my own money for her, so now she has to work for it.
Tell her not to tell my daughter, because my daughter's working for like $1 a day doing chores.
She's doing like a little like a catalog thing or whatever. So I was like, yeah, it's your money. Yeah. She wanted to do it. So.
It is important though to start them young and like really getting them into the idea of saving and, investing later on, and knowing the money, because they're all fortunate, like they shouldn't think that money's that easy to come by.
One of my favorite talking points when it comes to financial literacy that I love to stress to people is we need to reprogram our brains, because I know that, at my age, when I was growing up, I used to hear this one slogan or term all the time, and that was live within your means. Live within your means. That's what was taught to us. But no, do not live within your means. Live below your means. That is what needs to be taught, because yes, you can afford that new car. Yes, you can afford 3 vacations a year. Yes, you can afford that too. But do you really need all of that?
Yeah.
Save, because you never know when a global pandemic is going to happen, or when you get laid off, or you whatever it might be, you get sick. I didn't want to put it out there, whatever might happen. Like most Americans, I don't know what the statistic is in Australia, but I would guess it's probably similar. I read something, and I could be off, but something like 80% of Americans don't have any money in their savings. Like they live.
Well, here's the thing with Australia. They put money away for you. So when you turn a certain age, if you've worked a day in your life, you get a superannuation fund that you cannot.
We have
yeah,
that
but like
here.
you don't even get to choose to do that. Like they do it even if there's no choice.
We have that here, but most people really can't.
I feel like I don't have that. Do I have that?
Most people can't really live off Social Security when they're retired. Plus, also, our Social Security might be bankrupt by the time Roxy and I are retirement age.
Yes, it's probably highly likely.
I think I read that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I do think Los Angeles, though, is so much of smoke and mirrors. I know that when I first went there and I wasn't making money, I leased a S-Class Mercedes, and I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment in the middle of Crapsville, and I was literally driving in this stunning car because your car determines in Los Angeles, because you don't have to have people over, it determines your worth. And in a way, it's like, well, if I put it out there, then people will think I'm successful. So maybe pretending I'm successful begets success. But then at some point that wears off and people are just renting and leasing and they don't have anything tangible. And then you're 40, 50 years old and you have nothing to show for it. You know, we left Los Angeles around 2020 in October, and we went around the States to just see what we could afford for a better life for our kids. And we were just shocked at how much money we were spending in Los Angeles compared to anywhere else in the States and for what we could get for that. And it's just like you're wasting money that you don't really have. Something
great though, that I wish that I could have advised myself when I was younger. But you know, I do mentor and give advice to a lot of young influencers, and that's such a crazy, wild, volatile world where, first of all, the shelf life is usually not that long, and it keeps getting shorter and shorter and shorter. But if you're blessed enough to be popping and making it as an influencer, my best advice to them, which really applies to anybody, right? If you're making a good amount of money and you want to buy your first house, don't. Buy a duplex instead. Where you live in half of it and you rent out the other half, and you use that money to pay off your mortgage, and you'll still be having to pay for some of it. Then in a couple of years, if you're still crushing it as an influencer, then buy your house, but keep that duplex. Then all of a sudden you've got 2 investment properties, one of which is an income generating passive property for you. And eventually maybe you might be able to get more of that. Like, I wish I would have done that when I was younger, and I didn't.
It's building wealth. Yeah, you're right. It's building wealth. But also too, I think there's something to be said for now as I get older is simplifying too. It feels good sometimes to let go of things, and to not feel like I need every single thing, and it do you guys have that too? Is that a thing where you're just sort of,
I mean, being on the road, we've had 3 suitcases for a year, the same stuff. And yes, we do accumulate an outfit here or there, but it's been 3 suitcases. And I'll be honest with you, we don't use 2 of them. Wow. And I just thought yes, there were times when I'm at lunch going, oh, do people notice I'm wearing the same outfit? Or, I don't have my diamond watch that I'd left back in the States in storage. Do they care? But there's a great documentary called The Minimalists on Netflix, and you watch that and you go, wow, they say that if you have 20, I don't know why it's 28 things, but if you can have 28 things and you live with 28 things for a year, your happiness level goes up 50%. Because we're so mired in stuff. Yeah. And it's it actually takes over our mental health as well, because we're always, imagine just walking into a closet with your kids who are crazy and you have 2 nicely ironed, clean t-shirts and you just pick one of them. We walk in and we go, oh fuck, what are they gonna wear? Oh God, she's not gonna like that one. That one's itchy. She's gonna fight over that one. 2 that your kids like, and you just wear them. But we buy extra stuff because we want to impress people that we don't care about.
Yeah.
So like we just keep spending the money that we don't have to impress the people we don't care about. And then that's, I think, the biggest issue, especially in the States.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. So you've been on the road for a while.
Yeah.
Are you homeschooling your kids then?
Okay, so 2020 was obviously there was no school for us in Los Angeles. So we did all that online. And then 2021 was still homeschooled until the end of the last month for us. So we went back to Los Angeles for that last month to put her for the last month of school. Then it was vacation break. School's only been back for 2 weeks. Here's the issue. In Australia, my daughter's still in first grade in Australia, but she's in grade 2 in second grade in the States, because they actually have different years, how they structure
calendar
it.
years, right? Yeah.
So what we're doing is we'll probably be back in the States at the beginning of next year, and she'll go back into school. So we've got 3 months to play with. So what we've actually done is we have a tutor that comes over 2 to 3 hours a day, that we've actually just designed a program that what she has to learn within these next 3 months. And then she goes to like STEM classes, Kumon math. She goes to dance, swimming, all that stuff out here.
So
So I'm like, and there's no COVID where we are right now in Australia, in the state that we're in. So like there's no anything, like she's living just a normal life. So look, my own anxiety, I'm like, oh, am I screwing her up by these 3 months, her not going to school? But then I think
it's only 3 months.
It's 3 months, and she's also going to be at the level she needs to be in for next year. That's the number one goal. So it's just been a little bit of a, let's just see how it works. And I'm in Australia for work, so it's not like we're just here to play around. I had to justify it because I felt guilty.
That's a good excuse. You were talking about where else could we live. I was not just, but this summer, our American summer, I was in Las Vegas for 3 weeks. And I think eventually we'll probably end up moving to Vegas. I love it.
Really?
It's so much cheaper.
Okay.
There's no state income tax. Property tax is lower. Everything is cheaper. Everything is closer. It's a smaller city. And there's more to do. There's way more. There's constantly new things. It's like, it reminds me of Manhattan, which I also love. That's where I went to college, New York University. But it's not as cold, and it's closer to Los Angeles. I could still drive to LA or hop on a really quick flight if I needed to. But that's not the universe. God hasn't told me to move to Vegas quite yet.
Ask for a butterfly. That's what I do. When I was going to Australia, I said, universe, because I'm a big believer in manifestation. I said, I need you to show me a butterfly. And I can't ask you to show me a butterfly that's just like a random shitty butterfly flying around. Like, I need you to really make it a thing. Like, really need to make it a statement. Okay. And I said this every single day for about 2 weeks. I was like, show me a butterfly. Should I go to Australia? Should I do this job? I'm like upheaval of taking all my kids. Like, what should I do? 3 weeks after I'd said that, I was sitting on my porch of the place we were staying at. And my 2-year-old runs and she goes, mommy. And she's never said this word. She goes, a butterfly, a big butterfly. I run out and there's like a school of butterflies just like flying around each other. And I was like, that's my sign. And we booked the flight and we came here. I believe in signs, but it's only if you ask and only if you look for them. And you have to ask for them in a big way. You can't just say like, show me about these butterflies everywhere, make it a statement.
And you have to be consistent with it too, right? I mean, this is like something you ask for, repeating yourself, day in, day out.
Yeah, I've had the best year when it comes to my career that I've ever had this year. And I asked for it at the beginning of this year and I visualized it and I saw myself on set and I saw myself with the actors that I respected. And I just booked a job 2 weeks ago on a show that like is one of my all-time icons that I get to work with. And you almost have to, even if you don't believe it, you almost have to make yourself believe that it's going to happen. And then you start to believe it and then it starts to happen. I totally believe that, we don't even know how any of this works. So why can't we just make it happen?
It's a good point.
You can. I mean, I don't believe in coincidence. I believe like if you're thinking of someone and someone calls you, I believe that's because you thought of them. And that's why I don't want to put negative stuff out too. Like when you said sickness or, the big C word, I don't even want to say it.
What are you manifesting, Perez?
Well, I launched this new company So I'm manifesting huge success for it. Oh, I should have had it next to me. It's all good. I launched a CBD company. It's called My True 10.
Ooh.
And I'm very proud of it because we worked a long time to develop it. And we work still to like make sure that all of our batches are produced at the highest quality. Last year, going back to how awful it was, I was trying everything possible to improve and heal and self-medicate. You know, I'm not even a drinker, but last year I started drinking like every single day.
Because what else was there to do?
And I'm not even a drinker. I went from like drinking once every 2 to 3 months to drinking every single day. That was not cute. And I started trying CBD, and I found this one brand because I you know, I like things for free. So I think I put up an IG story saying, if anybody wants to send me some CBD, this is my address.
Oh my God.
Like home address.
People think that, but they don't say it.
Oh, I did it. I totally did it. Because I'm cheap, you know. It's like I thrive off of being cheap,
saving money. Yeah,
there you go. Yeah.
So I had a bunch of CBD and peanut brittle. I did the same thing with peanut brittle. I literally asked people to send me peanut brittle. I was in a bad shape last year. Okay,
peanut butter and CBD go hand.
I don't think I've reached out to brands and been like, hey, you know, I'd love to promote your brand. Just send me stuff. I've done that before.
I was shameless. I just put it out there. So I had a bunch of CBD sent to me last year, and I'm like, whatever. Okay, this one's okay, whatever. But then I found this one, and I'm like, wow, this one is like the best I've ever tried. So then I had my manager reach out to them, and I'm like, we need to do something different together and create a line, like an offshoot, and share this with the world, because so much of the other CBD I had tried didn't work. This one really works. What makes my True 10 different is that it's water soluble, and all the other CBD gummies out there are not water soluble. What that means is how your body digests it, absorbs it. It's faster, it's stronger, it's to get in, it's easier. So that's enough spiel. But if you want to get some or learn more,
please send me some.
Yeah, I know.
Go to mytrue10.com. That's mytrue10.com. I was going to send you some, but we cannot legally send any to Australia.
You can send it to LA, and
you can send it to me.
Now, my question is CBD, because I'm not good on marijuana. Like, I'm really not good. I mean, Roxy keeps trying to. I know, but like, I hate to feel. I don't like feeling. Like, my anxiety is like, I don't like to feel things. Like, I don't like to feel like I take a pill and then, oh my God, my body starts to like descend into like nothingness. I can't stand that feeling.
No. You know, I have to be very careful with how I word myself because I am co-owner of this new venture. I'm not allowed legally to make any claims, but I will say that some people use CBD as alternatives to prescription meds and things that, you know, are not natural. So it's a natural alternative to other things. And there's so many benefits to it, and it's not addictive. So that's a great thing as well.
I'm going to try it.
Yeah. Is it good for insomnia? I have very bad insomnia. I will say.
I will say it is.
I will say that it helps me be more restful.
Yeah, that helped me not fight with my husband.
I don't know about that.
They give you more
that's a deeper issue that you have that you need to sort out. But I feel like if I took CBD, I'd be so cheap.
How lucky are you to have a husband, though?
We're on therapy like the hour before this, and I was like, no, 15
It depends on the day.
I'm trying to manifest that as well. Not even that. I'm trying to manifest just like going out on dates. Actually, I talked about this in therapy last week. My therapist is off this week because he's on vacation. So whatever, good for him. I went to a concert, and there's nothing wrong with it. Most everybody nowadays meets people through apps or online dating, but I don't want to do that. However, I told my therapist that I will dip my toe in that water and open the door and try next year. But I ran into somebody that I know IRL in real life at this Pat Benatar concert, and I like have always had the hots for him. He's like the dream guy, around my age, kind, smart, involved in the arts, but behind the scenes, interesting, handsome, successful. So the day afterwards, I sent him a message on Facebook, and I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And then I told my best friend that, and he's like, you need to send the kiss emoji at the very end. And I'm like, oh my God, okay, I'll do it.
I would have been a bad friend. I'll be like, send the eggplant emoji. What are you doing? I would not have given the best advice. I would have been like, the wet thing and the emote, but anyway, you go back to your friend who said the kiss.
My friend is like giving me like flirting tips because I have no game.
So
what happened?
Yeah.
I did it, and that's kind of like, opening the door.
Yeah.
Although in my mind, I already opened the door by messaging him the day after the concert. But my friend's like, you need to open the door and be a little bit more forward. So I did, and the conversation didn't really go my way that way. But whatever, I tried.
But you know what? You're opening yourself to being available for someone.
Right. You're putting it out there.
I think
You're
you easily could
out
find
there.
love. I think you could easily. That's just the missing piece of the puzzle.
Not easily. I talk about that in therapy all the time. Just how we started off our wonderful chat by saying that, in the eyes of many, I'm irredeemable. In the eyes of the overwhelming majority of gay men, I am loathsome. They despise me. So I'm a gay man. That makes it extremely challenging to date. So it's going to take somebody very strong and curious to get to know the real me.
Okay.
But I do think that the person you're looking for probably has to have a big heart. And to have a big heart, you have to understand that people fuck up and they're human, and there has to be forgiveness in all of us. I mean, we're all not perfect. Yours just was in the public eye. I mean, I've done some shitty things in my life, but no one's found out about them.
And hopefully that person doesn't even have social media. That would be the ideal dream guy.
Who has no idea. But
I mean,
look,
you can know who I am, but it'd be nice to date somebody who's not even on social media.
Yeah, who's like a mathematician or something totally unrelated.
Hot teacher, dude.
Hot mathematician.
Yes.
Before you go, I just want to ask one question, and that is, what is your and it doesn't have to be negative, it can be positive, but the craziest celebrity story you've ever been, like, not talked about, but I've ever seen in person? Like, what is the craziest thing you've ever seen in person? It does not have to be negative, but something that would shock people.
Yeah.
I mean, because I'm sure you've seen a lot.
The first thing that comes to mind is all right, I won't say who because I don't want.
We're so good at guessing these. Go.
I mean, I know. If I say who, then some people are like,
Mangelina Moli.
You're talking smack about it. But let's just say, and I'll show you because I don't want people to think I'm single. Like in my bedroom here, I have a ton of platinum plaques. This one is from the Jonas Brothers. That's from the Ting Ting, Eric Hutchinson, Lady Gaga, Justin Bieber, Taylor Swift, Icona Pop, Amy Winehouse, Adele. They all sent me these. And they're personalized. They say my name on them as thanks for helping them at the beginning of their careers, being an important piece of the puzzle in their success. So I've had relationships, friendships, acquaintances, with many, 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 many musicians. So to answer your question, the wildest thing that I ever saw was a musician once who was at a rehearsal for an awards show. I don't understand why they did this because there was no rush. I don't think they were about to perform or anything, but really had to urinate there was no bathroom. I mean, maybe there was a bathroom nearby, but for whatever reason, went to the corner of a room we were in and just urinated in the corner of the room.
Were they drunk or high?
No.
Were they?
Are you sure?
Were they standing or sitting?
Squatting.
Oh, okay. Well, we know it's a girl.
Oh,
I assumed it was a girl. I think girls are dirtier than boys. I'm sorry. I do.
Ooh, does the name rhyme with?
If I say people,
You can tell us when we stop recording.
I could say, but people will be like, "Oh, you're just trying to get attention using that person's name and blah blah blah."
If you don't feel comfortable, you can tell us.
I'll tell you. I don't care. If you really want to know, I'll tell you.
We do want to know.
It was Lady Gaga.
That is nuts.
Oh, that is.
I kind of assumed I was like Lady Gaga or Amy Winehouse.
Oh, I haven't. Amy Winehouse did drugs before an interview I did with her, like literally right before the bless. Like,
did it affect the interview or make it better?
It was a TV interview as well. Like she knew we were filming for a TV show.
Right.
It did not make it better.
It did not make it better.
God.
Bless her heart. God, she was so talented.
I know.
It's
so
a shame
talented.
to see what she.
But that was like, I wouldn't say that's shocking because she was in the throes of addiction and people knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Like Lady Gaga randomly fucking pissing.
And did anyone say anything?
Yeah.
No, because she's Lady Gaga.
Right.
And are the Jonas Brothers as good as they say they are? Like as nice?
They're lovely, yes.
Lovely.
But are they as pure? Because they seem very pure.
I mean, they're not pure anymore. They're all very
And Adele, I would imagine, is just as
oh, she's my everything.
Right?
Is she nice? Please tell me she's
lovely.
nice.
Yeah.
You're not gonna say anything anymore.
No, I would be honest. She's lovely. I'm going to also manifest. I need to manifest also a way to get back to Australia because I do love Australia so much. So I need to somehow end up there.
We're doing a few shows. My husband and I have a production company, so I'm working on a few shows and he's writing some American shows, but there's one that we're probably going to do together in Australia. So maybe you can come play as one of the parts.
Yeah. Your husband's a TV writer?
He's both. He's a film and TV writer and director, and then we have a production company together. And
amazing.
I've directed some TV as well.
Well, I'm also trying to manifest more acting. I would love that.
See, you've already done it. You manifested it, and within 2 seconds, you got a job.
It worked.
I'm telling you, it's like magic.
I'm supposed to be acting in something later this year, which is exciting. So yeah,
that's great.
I did go to school for acting back in the day.
Did you ever watch Pretty Little Liars, the show that I used to work on back in the day?
I was aware of it. Of course, I covered it a bunch.
Yeah.
But I never, not even just didn't watch your show.
Yeah.
I still don't watch any television.
I don't either, but I was wondering if that's something that you covered back in the day.
I know we covered it a bunch, but I never watched it. And I don't like, even the shows I was on, like I would watch something. I would watch my scenes or whatever I was on, and then
that's what I do. Oh my gosh, I thought no one did that. I'd just be like, okay, that was okay, and then I move on. It's like my line, okay, my line, okay, my line. Well, thank you so much. Right, Rox?
Yes, thank you so much. Perez, where can everybody find you? Because I know you're everywhere, but
so I have my own podcast, which is very different than this one. My co-host, who's like this older straight dude, and I are like brother and sister, and we're like every week. But we talk about pop culture, so you can listen to the Perez Hilton podcast with Chris Booker on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or directly at perezpodcast.com, or watch us on YouTube on my at Perez Hilton YouTube channel. That's for the entertainment. I've got a family YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/The Perez Hilton. Of course, my website. I'm all over social media. And if you want some CBD gummies, You can get them at mytrue10.com. And
I'm
because I have OCD, I made sure to buy both spellings. 10 spelled out and 10 the number.
Smart.
So you can go to either of them.
You've been in this business for a long time.
You know what's up. You know what's up.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was truly a pleasure.
Wait,
now you guys sing a song?
Oh,
okay, wait, just wait for it. Okay, now we do our little spiel. And guys, please follow us on Women on Top Official on Instagram.
And Women on Top Podcast on Facebook and Women on Top Group on Clubhouse.
And don't forget to rate,
subscribe,
and comment. And thank you guys so much. We love you. I am Tammin Sursok.
And I am Roxy Manning.
And we are, it's not even a song, Women on...
Say it, Perez. Come on.
Top!